Hey, what's up everybody? Got another video here. Just more practice shots of me filming my welding on this plate. Same plate as yesterday. But I decided I was going to try out using a tripod here and also duct taping a lens to the camera. Some of these shots turned out pretty decent, but I think I need to keep trying new things and keep trying to get better. I want to tell you guys a story of something that happened to me a couple of years back. This was right when I first started welding. I think I'd been welding just under a year at the time, and I started talking to this company. They were based out of Virginia. I was living in Florida at the time, and it was the first serious welding job I ever tried to get, and it was a traveling job. So the company was based out of Virginia, but they said, oh, it doesn't matter where you live. You can live anywhere because we're going to put you on a plane and we're going to fly you to wherever you're going anyways. But you do have to show up to Virginia for the weld test. So where I was going, it was about, I think it was 11 hours away. And so me being a novice welder, I was kind of like, oh man, do I really want to drive 11 hours for a weld test and that I don't even know if I'm going to get it? And I had just bought a truck at the time. It was a 6.4 Power Stroke, and I had never taken that truck out of town before. And so I was kind of like, I don't know, just a couple of things that made me a little bit nervous about the whole thing, but I decided I was going to go for it. So I got on the road, and normally what I would do in town is I would keep driving until I got the little light telling me that it was time to fill up. I think it'd have like about 50 miles left whenever it would give me that first warning. And then I would start, thinking about getting some fuel. And then by the time it had 25 miles left, I would be like, oh yeah, I definitely need to get some fuel now. And I was living in Jacksonville at the time. So, there was fuel stations everywhere. So I'm on this road trip and I'm driving, and doing that, for the time being was working, start thinking about getting fuel once I get to 50 miles left. And start really trying to get something going once I get to 25 miles left. But I was in South Carolina and I was driving, and I was in the middle of nowhere. I was driving on the interstate, and I got the 50-mile warning, and I was kind of like, okay, it's time to start thinking about it. And then I didn't see anything for miles and miles and miles. And then I got to the 25-mile warning, and then I started to get a little bit nervous. And so I just started watching for signs on the road. And when I hit, I think it was like 20 miles left, I pulled over onto this shoulder and I Google searched for the nearest fuel station. And there was one, and it was 15 miles away. Mind you, I had 20 miles left, and it was going to take me a ways off of the interstate. I had to make an exit with no buildings around and, make a big roundabout turn and start driving perpendicular. So I did that. And as I'm driving down this backcountry road in South Carolina, I start to realize, oh my God, I don't have enough fuel to get back to the interstate. So there better be something for me when I get there. And so I'm driving. By the way, this is on a Sunday, and just the worst thing happens as I'm driving out there. I don't have any service on my cell phone anymore. So now I'm driving off into some unknown place with no cell phone service, without enough fuel to get back to the interstate. And I get out there and I make it to the fuel station, and it's closed. It's some mom and pop shop, and it's a Sunday and there's nobody there. And it was one of those things, it was like some real old place where you had to pay inside. Or maybe you could have paid with cash, but I didn't have cash. I had card. And so I'm just sitting there like, what do I do? Where do I go? I'm in the middle of nowhere. I was at a 4-way intersection. The fuel station was on one of the corners. So I just picked a direction and just started driving, hoping to find somebody. And there was a couple of just random little houses, here and there. So I just drove up to one. There was so many cars in the driveway, so I figured someone would be home. Knocked on the door. Nobody answered. Waited a couple minutes, knocked again. Nobody answered. Then I got back in the truck, started driving again, and there was some guy sitting on his porch of his house. So I pull into his driveway and I just kind of wave at him and he waves back. And I was just like, okay, this is good. So I go up to him and I tell him like, hey man, this is what's going on. Can you help me? And he says, I might have some diesel for the tractor. And he goes back and checks and he didn't have any. And so then he says, my neighbor might have some. So we walk across this big field and we see his neighbor driving around in some big field in a pickup truck. This guy was completely drunk. And I'm just like, hey man, can you help me? And he's like, yeah, I can help you. And I was like, oh, great. So I follow him in my truck. We go all the way, back down some back road. And I'm not going to lie, the thought occurred in my head, like, I hope I don't get murdered by this guy because nobody knows where I am. And, but we showed up at his place and he had a big tank full of diesel. And this guy hand pumped fuel straight into my tank. And I saved my ass. He gave me enough to get me to the next town. He told me where to go. And in the end, I got the fuel, got back on the road, got to Virginia, got the job. And that was a crazy time for me. I'll tell you what I've learned from that experience. I never let my fuel get that low when I'm driving on these long trips, ever. I'm always, as soon as I'm down to a quarter tank, it's time to fill up. That's my move now. But I'm just, it's a good feeling when you think, you got yourself in a serious bind and, there's someone there who's willing to help you. Maybe the day will come when I can do something like that for somebody else. I hope so. So that's my little story for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys enjoyed some of these shots of me welding. It's kind of cool seeing that cup dance around like that, isn't it? Got some more equipment coming in where I'm going to try to get some more clear shots of what I'm doing here. I got some filters coming in the mail next, and I think the tripod really helped me with some of these shots. So yeah, all right. Hope y'all enjoyed. See y'all on the next one.